The James Show Podcast.
Have you heard of the Brown Berets? Garrett, I know you've heard of the Brown Berets now, but you hadn't heard of them before, like yesterday, right? Okay. I think the older parts of our WBAP listening audience has a hand up on this, because the Brown Berets are sort of the paramilitary arm of what's called the Chicano movement. Now, the word Chicano is something that we probably all are familiar with. If you're from Texas, transplants might be scratching their head. But just generally speaking, Chicanos are people with the phenotypes of what is normally called Hispanic, kind of inaccurately, but they're American. And that is like 70% of San Antonio counts as Chicano. Yes, they have darker skin and they have black hair and they look like they are a mix of white and indigenous peoples, but they are just as American as myself or Garrett or any black American who happens to be born here as well. And so, I'm kind of familiar with this because that's what my grandfather called himself. He looked Hispanic, but he's from Texas. He was a dark guy, dark hair, but he's American. Never lived over there. In fact, his parents didn't live over there. Well, his mom may have been from Nuevo Laredo, just across the river. But without getting into too much detail, it has sort of persisted since then, more in the background as the civil rights movement kind of died down in the 70s. You know, like what happened to the Black Panthers? Did they really go away? Not really. What happened to the Klan? Did they really go away? Yeah, for the most part. But I guess there's still some idiots out there somewhere wearing their bed sheets. Well, the Brown Berets have actually done a better job evolving. You know, they're kind of like the brown part of the Black Panther Party, the brown equivalent of that for Chicanos, Hispanic people. And I like the term, actually, Chicano is preferable to Hispanic because there's plenty of people who qualify as Hispanic and they have blonde hair and blue eyes and they're paler than I am. They're 100% black and they can count as Hispanic. So I like this term Chicano here because it involves the nuance that we need. What about these people who do have heritage that isn't 100% European or overwhelmingly European? What if it's this mix? Because that's what, Mexican people, I love when they do the studies on it and they do like the genetic testing. As far as like the average goes throughout the population of Mexico, they are a pretty even mix of European ancestry and native ancestry. But the Brown Berets in their current form do one thing that I think you wouldn't agree with. Kind of a pain in the butt. Go follow them on Instagram. Go follow them on Facebook. Go follow them on whatever your preferred social media platform is. And you'll see there's a group called Brown Berets DFW. And they put up alerts whenever ICE is spotted, whenever ICE is about to do a raid or they pull up in trucks, they get online and they start alerting their network to get the word out so illegals can escape ICE actions. Now, the question comes, at what point are you interfering with law enforcement? Should it be legal for groups like this to share what they see with the intent of helping people escape from the law? Or is this just protected free speech? Now, it is kind of protected free speech if they take, hey, there was an ICE raid, and they wait until the ICE raid's over, and then they publish that information. It is also protected speech if they just share what they saw, and it just so happened to maybe help someone escape the law. But there's no doubt they're doing this with the intent of helping people escape the law. So what does that make the Brown Berets? Is this a felonious group? Is this a racket? You see the Puff Daddy trial, apparently paying some male prostitute in advance and flying him to Vegas, crossing state lines, and doing it with a company credit card, a Bad Boy Entertainment credit card. That's a racket. That's racketeering. Those are RICO charges. Well, what about this? They have a whole organization that overtly claims to be helping people escape justice. And we've reached out to them. I was trying to get a spokesman for Brown Berets DFW on the show. I would love to have them on. I'll be playing a clip from one of their leaders, Esperanza, coming up. But also, Beau French is someone who has called these guys out. And Beau French actually had the Texas Tribune try and run him into the ground during the last election cycle. They went through his Twitter feed, his X feed, and they're like, look, he uses the word, and I'm sorry, it's this within FCC rules to say this. I am not saying this. I am just repeating it. They found the word gay, retard, homo, and then there were a couple other things that are totally offensive. I would never use them myself. I wouldn't call anybody any of those words. But they were trying to get him canceled through some politically correct complaints like that. Now, I think it's beneath the dignity of the president of the Tarrant County GOP to be using inflammatory language like that that's going to be so easily picked apart and probably push people away. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm wildly offended by it and I think he should lose his job. However, the contention between the two of them continues to this day. And the Brown Berets put out a video trying to throttle Beau French again. Well, Beau French is going to be on my show next. He's been on a few times, Tarrant County GOP leader right now. And I want to get his side of the story because I heard the side of the story from the Brown Berets. I'll play Esperanza and her Instagram video calling him out, and then you're going to hear Beau French's immediate response to that. But the larger question is, I think absolutely this is criminal, probably felonious, to have a network that's intentionally alerting illegals of ICE raids. And there's been a lot of fuss about my next guest, Beau French, a returning guest, friend of the show, Beau French, coming back on. And I think this all stems from you calling out some Brown Berets that got in trouble after the Monday protest. Some guy was handing out gas masks or something. Let's assume the people listening know nothing about this conflict. How would you explain it to them?
Hey, James. Thanks for having me on. Great to be here. I think the overriding thing, and if you just back up for a second, the overwhelming majority of people in America voted for Donald Trump to do a lot of things to put America first. And he is executing that plan. And, to varying degrees of success, you could argue. But, he is doing what most people voted for. Our enemies don't like what he's doing, specifically the radical Marxists, the communists. And, those organizations all kind of run around and play together. And one such organization is the Brown Berets. You might have seen over the last weekend, the weekend before the No Kings, or whatever they called it, the pathetic little protest they had here. But before they had that in Texas, they were in LA rioting. And there were, clear organization to that riot. People handing out gas masks and things like that. One guy in particular was arrested, a guy named Alejandro Orellano, and he is a member of the Brown Berets. Now, who are the Brown Berets? The Brown Berets actually have a very large presence in Texas and in DFW. I think their local chapter has tens of thousands of followers on Instagram alone. So they definitely have a following. But it's an organization that is based on the model of the Black Panthers. Right. Even the FBI, who's not been great on a lot of things, has infiltrated them in the past, and because they were deemed a paramilitary organization. So they're kind of a one of those groups that you should be very cautious of. But it's really who all they associate with and where their funding comes from that is really the problem. They're closely connected to groups like Freedom Road Socialist Organization.
I don't know them. Who's
Party
that?
For Socialism and Liberation, and all of these groups get funding primarily from various sources, but a lot of it comes from the Chinese Communist Party backed rich guy from Shanghai named Neville Singham. And, the U.S. government is investigating all of this, but just know that this is primarily funded and incited by our primary enemy in China.
Okay, now let's fast forward to today. Did you see the post from the Brown Berets 2 days ago on Instagram?
I'm not big on Instagram, so I think I missed that one.
Well, good, because you got mentioned. This is going to be great. I want to get your response to this. Now, this is going to take 2 minutes, but we have time, and I want you to give your first visceral response. This is Esperanza. She's wearing one of the berets. She's got, military fatigues on or whatever, but here we go.
Good afternoon. This is Esperanza with the Dallas Brown Berets. I just wanted to make a quick response to a statement that was made by the Tarrant County GOP chair, Beau French.
That's you.
It was pretty concerning and inflammatory, so I just want to make some corrections to the inaccuracies there. A little bit of fact-checking, if you will.
Ooh.
Mr. French, first and foremost, thank you so much for mentioning the Dallas Brown Berets. We definitely try to get our name out there in any way possible, just so that people can hear who we are, what the causes are, hear the voices of the people. And you mentioning us definitely helped pique that interest. So again, thank you so much for promoting. As far as the inaccuracies, we'll start off with the easiest one. You mentioned that I, Esperanza Tamio, am the leader of the local local Brown Beret group, which is the Dallas Brown Berets. That is inaccurate. I am a leader. I'm one of many.
Oh my gosh, let's just pause it right there. Why would you lie about the Brown Berets in such an egregious fashion?
Put me in jail right now.
All right, that's the easy joke. We continue.
Have many leaders from various walks of life because we emphasize the fact that representation is key to a successful community. For the other inaccuracies, you mentioned and tied us into the arrest of the activist in Los Angeles during the peaceful protesting, Mr. Alejandro Orellana. You mentioned that he was a Brown Beret, and that is inaccurate. As far as we understand and as far as we know, he is not a Brown Beret. However, he is a very strong Chicano activist, and he is the vanguard of his neighborhood. We stand on ground for him 100%. We stand behind him and everything he stands for.
All right, I don't know what she's talking about there. Your criticism of the Brown Berets in Los Angeles, explain that.
I mean, look, well, we all watched in horror as, California just stood by and let these, organizations primarily defending foreign invaders on our soil. I mean, that is their purpose, right? They are defending foreign invaders on our soil and protesting our government's effort to follow the laws that have been on our books for years to remove these foreign invaders from our country.
Well, and it all seems to be based on race here because they are citing, even if you're an American, born in America, raised in America, never lived in Mexico, as long as you share the phenotypes of the people that are just generally, labeled Hispanic, they're on the same team, whether you're Mexican or American, as long as you're of La Raza, the race, they have your back. So there's an ugly little racial tint to this group.
Well, but that is the common thread among most of these Marxist groups is they will glom onto whatever issue to then leverage it and use it for whatever their particular agenda is. And they don't all have the same agenda, but they all have a similar agenda. And most of it is the destruction of the United States.
Do these racial groups never want to get together and reduce the size of government or cut the Department of Education? Why are they always communist? Anyway, we continue with the Brown Berets calling out Beau French.
He was out there giving face shields to his people and sacrificing himself to ensure their safety while they exercised their legal rights. He had the backbone to stand up for his people, and we will always back that up. When it comes to the Dallas PD and you're discussing protesting against them, what happened on Monday night, June 9th, we have pictures, we have videos, we have firsthand eyewitness accounts, including myself and several others that were with me, of plainclothes and regular clothed officers instigating and assaulting peaceful protesters without cause. You had trigger happy.
Now, why is she talking to you about this? Did you make some sort of complaint I didn't see?
I think probably because I've just praised, how the state of Texas under Greg Abbott's leadership has just specifically said, we're not going to follow in the footsteps of Los Angeles and allow violent criminals to try and murder our law enforcement officers, which is what we all watched live on TV, right? We've all seen the videos of these violent protesters trying to murder police officers. So, yeah, we're not going to stand for that. And guess what? You have to follow lawful orders of police officers. And when they give you a lawful order, and her whole thing, for no cause, they just instigated this for no reason. No, these people were being violent, not following the orders of law enforcement. So, yes, at that point, law enforcement does have the right to intervene and use force to enact what they're doing. And so these people are they are against all societal norms. They're against, peace and prosperity. They are trying to further some radical leftist agenda, and nobody's fooled by this.
All right, we're talking with Beau French, Tarrant County GOP president. You got another segment in you? I want to get the rest, your response to the rest of this video coming up.
Yeah, bring it.
And then also ask you the same question I'm going to be asking the guy listening to us after you're done. Should this group or anyone be allowed to post ICE sightings on social media with the specific intent of helping people escape ICE raids? And there's been a little social media back and forth between himself and a local group called Brown Beret DFW. Now, one of the things that the Brown Berets do that I see on social media is when they see that there is an ICE raid going down, they pull out where it's happening on a map. They take a screenshot, they post it, and they warn people, spread this news. ICE is in the area. Keep yourself safe. And that sounds like interfering with law enforcement officers, Beau.
Well, totally. I mean, these are people who, don't want us to exercise our right to prosecute the laws of the land, right? And it is illegal to be in this country if you did not come legally or were born here as a citizen. And so we are removing these people, as President Trump promised in his campaign and is now delivering on in his term. And of course, the left, knowing that this is an avenue because we have tens of millions of illegal aliens in this country, and lots of people are sympathetic to them. And I understand that because there is a human component to it, but we do have to follow the law. And so these people are endangering our law enforcement officers by doing this because they know that the left has gotten away with all kinds of violence, which sometimes doesn't get prosecuted, or they, in these Democrat-run cities, these people get out of jail almost immediately with almost no bond, and so very low bonds. And so, the left has just gotten away with violence for too long that they've been emboldened. I mean, we saw this in LA when they were literally trying to murder police officers, throwing bricks at their heads. I don't know what else you would call that. And so I just think that, these groups need to be punished. We need to start going after these people who are inciting this kind of violence and putting a stop to it.
Right. And one of the cases, in fact, in this back and forth between you and Esperanza from the Brown Berets DFW, what was the case that the DA in Los Angeles had announced earlier this week that he's going to be charging some guy with handing out riot gear or handing out face shields to rioters, which there's no peaceful protest excuse for handing out, protective body armor other than we are inciting a riot.
Right. And I mean, look, the person was handing these things out to people who were then trying to murder cops. So, I mean, it's the evidence, it was, right there for everyone to see on video.
Well, this is a turnabout because, they've been getting away with breaking the laws of immigration this entire time. Now they want to get away with breaking the laws on interfering with ICE raids. They want to get rid of breaking the laws when it comes to inciting violence and inciting riots. So with that, let's get back to the message that was left for you a couple days ago by Brown Berets DFW. This is Esperanza continuing.
Rookies out there who didn't know what they were doing, got scared for no reason, and just went to town on the people. One of the things that I do want to address is that you addressed us as extremists. This couldn't be further from the truth. Yes, we will stand up and stand guard.
Oh, and if you're just joining us, when she says you, she's talking to Beau French. So
for the people, and we will always protect our communities first and foremost. But we are a grassroots community organization. We have been out there taking care of the people. We've been trying to help them in any way possible. We've been doing projects in the neighborhoods. We know and we hear and understand the needs of the people.
How does that make them not extremists, bro?
Well, I love how she uses the word community. I mean, the community that she's talking about is the community of illegal aliens. These are not American citizens. They're not Americans. They're actually not part of our community. They are foreign invaders.
Something that you can have with your constituents if you stepped outside of your bubble. Go talk to the people. See what the people need. See what support they need. They don't need this fear mongering. They don't need people's, you and I both know, a true leader doesn't rule by fear. A true leader leads by example.
Beau French, why do you rule the Tarrant County GOP with fear?
Well, listen, I think that the fear is that American people have for too long endured the brutalization of what massive illegal immigration into this country has done, right? People have lost jobs. Americans are suffering at the hands of massive increases in crime in our cities. And we've just had enough. And I'm just giving voice to the people like Donald Trump is, to the people who put him in office. We are frustrated. We are done. The fatigue is real. This idea of multiculturalism, that like America's this melting pot and everybody can come here and bring their own culture with them and not integrate into our culture, has destroyed this country. And so, some of us, like me, are advocating that, hey, we want people to come here and not be diversity as our strength, but be unity as our strength, right? That really should be the goal. Like, come be an American if you come here. Learn English. I mean, we have people who've been here for 3 generations and they still don't speak any English. I mean, why is that? That seems like maybe a problem that we should address.
All right, one more.
We have people who don't recognize our laws, who just bring crime and the civil disobedience, violent civil disobedience that you see in some of these third world countries to our shores. And I think the average American, we all remember what it was like not that long ago when none of this stuff was happening. None of it was happening. And so, we just are looking to get back to a sense of societal norms where we have the civil society that promotes the healthy things and the prosperity that Americans deserve and want.
All right, Beau French, I'm going to squeeze in one more clip, but we're running out of time, so make your response fast to this.
Be better. Good afternoon.
That was it. Be better.
Okay. My response is I'm trying to make Tarrant County as good as it can possibly be.
Do you stand by your claim that Brown Berets DFW is an extremist organization?
Well, for sure. They promote this idea that we are on stolen land, that this is Mexico's land. No, we conquered Mexico, and we conquered this land. It is the United States. It is Texas. So I don't subscribe to that at all. And she gets her funding from communist China. So, our enemies are funding her. I think we should be looking for, American ideals, not communist Chinese ideals.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed the back and forth there. That was a good little exercise. Beau French, Tarrant County GOP president, thank you very much for your time. How do they find your work online?
Yeah, I'm pretty much exclusively on X, formerly Twitter, at Beau French TX.
It's kind of puzzling here. That group we were just talking about, Brown Berets DFW, they post ICE sightings on social media and warning people, look out, make sure your friends and family are safe. Get the word out. Here comes ICE. They were spotted here. Can anyone confirm? Go check it out. And it's not like it's hidden. It's for public. Go to look, I see them on Instagram more than anything else. I'm sure they have a social media footprint beyond that. But that seems like it's kind of obviously illegal. They're doing it with the specific intent of disrupting ICE raids, of helping people to escape ICE raids. It's a lot like the judges that have already gotten in trouble for harboring or hiding or allowing the escape of illegal immigrants. I find that absolutely fascinating. And I don't know if our Team Blue neighbors really are surprised that we're okay with illegal immigrants being deported, or if this is just a front for the other Team Blue members that happen to be watching the show. But I think you would have really enjoyed this one little clip from The View. Not watching the whole thing for sure. But Arnold Schwarzenegger was on The View yesterday. And, of course, his status is one of the most famous immigrants in American history. Caught him a little off guard. They were like, hey, man. I think they thought he was going to be a fellow traveler. Hey, man, aren't you totally appalled and disgusted by the horrible way that Trump is treating these sweet immigrants? And they didn't quite get the answer they expected.
Did you have a visceral reaction to what they're doing, what ICE is doing when you see the videos of it?
Well, I tell you, you said that the immigrant, I'm so proud and happy that I was impressed by the American people like that. I mean, imagine they came over here with the age of 21, with absolutely nothing. And then to create a career like that. I mean, in no other country in the world could you do that. Yeah. Every single thing, if it's my bodybuilding career, if it's my acting career, becoming governor, the beautiful family that I've created, all of this is because of America.
That's true.
And so this is why I'm so happy to see firsthand that this is the greatest country in the world, and this is the land of opportunity.
All right. So he didn't go, Trump is treating them like subhuman animals. He's literally Hitler. It's kind of what they were hoping for. They didn't quite get it, but they were still kind of pushing him on that. Like, isn't it terrible the way that they're being treated? Isn't it awful how they have to live in fear? And even as one of the squishiest Republicans you have ever seen in your life, he kept his foot down on this one. About 2 minutes later in the same interview, here he is saying, some of this behavioral issue is on the part of the illegal immigrants here.
I just think the world of the great kind of a history that we have with immigrants in America. But the key thing also is at the same time that we got to do things legal. That is the important thing, So you got to do things legal. And those people that are doing illegal things in America and that are foreigners, they are not smart.
Boom.
Because when you come to America, you're a guest. And you have to behave like a guest. Like when I go to someone's house and I'm a guest, then I will do everything I can to keep things clean and to make my bed and to do everything that is the right thing to do rather than committing a crime or being abusive or something like that. So that doesn't really work in this country.
Yeah, you're trying to interrupt this.
The important thing is when you become an immigrant, to think about, okay, I go to America because I want to use America for the great opportunities that America has.
But you could see all their faces. It's like when you're in the restaurant and it's time for your food to come out. And so then the plates come out and the waiter comes by and there's like the sizzling fajita plates and they set it right down next to your table. And it's the table next to you who's getting their food. Like they were just they were expecting something awesome. Like their face went from, oh, good, my fajitas are here to, oh, it's going to the next. That's not what I wanted. I wanted my food and I wanted it now. So I'm surprised they didn't cut to commercial. But coming up on the James Show, you're going to hear the view. Did any of this sink in? Like, how would you respond to a former governor, a legal immigrant who went through the whole thing, became a governor of a state, and has been, very open-minded and sympathetic to your cause? And when he is blowing your immigration narrative out of the water, how do they respond? You'll hear that next. And then I got some good callers lining up because we've got some people with some hot opinions on folks posting ICE sightings around DFW on social media and helping illegal immigrants escape law enforcement actions. That sounds like a pretty obvious felony, right? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.